Chapter 27. The next morning, Gwen and Peter served their guests a hearty send-off breakfast of lox and bagels that were thoroughly enjoyed by all, and, as was the custom, by Bartholomew, Blaise, and Vivaldi as well. Thus, fortified for their journey up the coast, Christy and Elspeth were prepared to leave Los Angeles, but not before Elspeth had called Alice and ascertained that Jean-Noel had passed a restful evening at the basement apartment in the Sovereign Hotel. It appeared that during the night, his fever of unidentified origins had finally broken, and thereby released him from the stranglehold it had had upon him for the past 3 days. With the return of a temperature within normal range had come a welcome end to his hallucinations, and there had been, thankfully, no further mention of the worrisome subject otherwise known as the King of the Cats. He did say one mildly far-fetched thing, however, Alice laughingly conceded. He actually suggested that we should run off to Paris together. He said there was a pet cemetery on the banks of the Seine that it might be really fun to check out. A pet cemetery, Elspeth repeated quizzically, while thinking to herself that there was nothing mildly far-fetched about that remark at all. And given Jean-Noel's recent mental history, it was something definitely to be concerned about. "What did you tell him?" she warily ventured to ask. "Under the circumstances, I thought I should try to humor him, so I said I'd think about it." "Probably for the best," Elspeth said in a feeble attempt at optimism. "I'll call you in a couple of days, just to check on his progress." Needless to say, the phone call to Alice did not sit well with Elspeth, and she worried about it all the way to their first rest stop at the Gaviota Pass in North Santa Barbara County. Christy was happily listening to his favorite Jean-Pierre Rampal recording of the Suite for Flute and Jazz Piano with Claude Bolling, so he did not even notice his traveling companion's ponderous silence. After using the facilities and rebuckling his seatbelt, Christy said with pride, "I got me a son, Ellie. Let's celebrate and get us a bowl of that famous soup and a glass of milk. Split Peterson's ain't far from here. We'll even get us our very own box of them Danish butter cookies and eat 'em all the way home." Not wanting to spoil Christy's fun, Elspeth said nothing about Jean-Noel's ominous proposal to Alice to visit, of all things, a pet cemetery in Paris, and chose instead to smile, albeit weakly, and say, "I'd like that very much." Christy was working on his second bowl of split pea soup when he felt the moment to be right to expound at greater length upon his visit just 2 days prior to Jean-Noel in the hospital room. Dang, if he didn't have a volunteer violinist and a ballerina giving him a private performance when I walked in. And that ballerina was right pretty too, but she had a highly suspicious nature. When I offered my spread in Big Sur to Jean-Noel, she didn't want him to take it. "Well, how so?" Elspeth inquired with more than a little curiosity. She shook her head real hard in the negative, and wouldn't you know, that boy listened to her? But now, by gum, they both heard the truth, and directly from the horse's mouth. He knows now that I'm his father, and that the spread in Big Sur belongs to him by rights. "So you think he's fully recovered?" Elspeth proffered cautiously. "I don't think so, darling. I know so. That boy's turning a corner, just like I did when I was around his age. Maybe he'll even give up the full notion that he's under some family obligation to follow in his granddad's footsteps. Who knows what the future may hold for him then?" Heartened by Christy's encouraging words, Elspeth finished the last of her milk, and having wiped away the residual white mustache, rose to buy the cookies in the gift shop, while Christy took care of their check. Once back on the road in the yellow Westphalia, Christy broached a subject he'd been thinking hard about ever since the funeral the day before. You know, Ellie, I ain't never been to Paris, and I got a good mind to go. Seeing as we travel so well together, I was wondering if you might like to go with me. Why this sudden interest in Paris, Christopher O'Keefe? Elspeth asked as she broke the seal on the butter cookies and opened the tin. Popping a fluted wreath into her mouth, she savored its innocent decadence while awaiting Christy's reply. Because there's a real special place there that I've just got to see, he answered obligingly as he reached for a fluted wreath himself. Uncertain as to whether he was referring to the Louvre Museum, Notre Dame, or the Eiffel Tower, to name but a few of Paris's many treasured landmarks, Elspeth quite reasonably queried, which one? To which Christy most unexpectedly replied, It's a pet cemetery on the banks of the Seine, darling, and I got my heart set on seeing it real soon.